Folks, we're back with another episode of Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide, on to episode 4. So thanks very much for sharing and continuing to watch. We're glad that everyone's enjoying these episodes. We've got another amazing guest today who doesn't need really any introduction, but we're going to give him one anyway. But just to start off with, as we always do, just to thank our sponsors for this podcast. For episode 4, we've got Human Research Labs, who have kindly, they're big supporters of natural bodybuilding anyway. They've sponsored various shows this year, and they've kindly agreed to help support this episode. So thanks to them. They're also running, as we mentioned, a giveaway for one of their pre-workouts, the DFib and their CBD oil. So we're going to announce that later on. Just to mention as well, Chris Clark at Pump Media has kindly offered to do a giveaway of some tickets for the upcoming Phil Heath seminar. That's Chris on this coming Tuesday. So if you could share this live feed, like it and share it, and we will announce a winner.
Let's have a comment as well, a hashtag.
Yeah.
Think of a hashtag, Tom.
Hashtag
Phil Heath win.
Phil Heath win.
Yeah.
Phil Heath win. Fair play.
So,
I was thinking of a hashtag to do with you guys.
Well, let's keep it because it's Phil
All
Heath
right.
tickets. Let's keep
Okay.
it relevant. I think.
right.
Yeah, that's good.
So on to business. We have got a pro natural bodybuilder. He's been a pro since 2008. He's a 4-time pro DFAC British Grand Prix champion. He's a 2-time overall DFAC world champion. All the way from Scotland, we've got Dangerous Dave K. So welcome, Dave. Thanks
welcome,
for agreeing to have a chat with us.
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Not too
Natural bodybuilding worldwide. I've made it. I've made it to the big
that's
time.
it. Yeah, never short.
Pleasure to be on the show, and thanks for inviting me on. And I really enjoy kind of what you guys are doing, and I've enjoyed the episodes we've had thus far. So I'm looking forward to this one. Cheers.
Yeah, and as we briefly discussed prior to going live, there's been a bit of a buzz around this one, and understandably so. Obviously, there's people have look at you and when they've seen you on stage, and they've been in awe of what you've achieved and what kind of a physique you've got. Pretty much unbeatable so far. But can you? Not many people know who you are now.
Yeah.
People don't know much about where you come from, background and stuff. So could you give us a bit of background on how you got into training? What led you to take up bodybuilding?
Yeah, sure, no problems. Well, if anyone's listened to me speak before, they'll kind of know the story. So I will try and kind of spearhead it into something a bit quicker. I am from Dundee, Bonnie Dundee, on the east coast of Scotland. I've lived here all my life. I am by occupation. I'm a lecturer. I'm a lecturer in English, which people tend to be quite surprised at. How I got into bodybuilding is quite a familiar story, actually. If you listen to a lot of the kind of the bodybuilders speak, particularly successful ones, I was an athlete. I was into sport. I was sport mad. I did competitive athletics and swimming at kind of national level from about age 7 up to kind of when I started uni, to be honest. And then from that, I think every guy gets to a point where, particularly in athletics, I realise, look, I'm not going to be Usain Bolt. I'm quick, but I'm just not quite that good enough. And I was getting kind of recurring hamstring strains and things. And I was just generally getting a bit pissed off with the scene. And that kind of coincided with me going to uni where, I was starting to get into party life and women take over and things like that. So I guess...
Naturally.
Yeah. And I guess the dream of being an Olympic champion and whatnot was fading fast. But I tell you what I did notice was that when I was a sprinter, I was always very, very muscular in comparison to the other guys. And there would be guys that would beat me on the track that were, to me, just like skinny dudes. I was like, how the hell are you so quick? And I remember my coach used to say, you know, you need to stop putting on muscle. And I was like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. All I'm doing is, I wasn't doing weights at the time, I was just sprinting, but the sprint training just seemed to like add mass to my kind of, particularly my legs and my hamstrings. I think that's where my hamstring development actually originated. So going from there, you know, recurring hamstring injuries, out on the piss a little bit, I was like, nah, I'm not really into this. But I started getting into the gym. When we did athletics, we did Olympic lifts to get into the gym. And I was obviously, you know what it's like with your mates. It's like, who can bench the most, who can squat the most, all this. And I was strong. I was strong. Not necessarily the strongest, but I was pretty good. So I just kind of naturally started going to the gym myself. And I didn't realise at the time that I was actually bodybuilding. I just thought I was coming in and just like, you know, training and getting a pump, and that feels pretty good. You know, your arms are getting a bit bigger, your pecs are getting bigger.
Getting ready for the disco on a Friday night, basically.
Yeah, and I was always like the muscular guy amongst my mates. I was always like, even at school, I was like the kid with the six pack. You know, like there's always a guy at school with a six pack, and no one really knows how you get it. But I didn't know how I got it. I was just obviously naturally a kind of lean, muscular guy. You know, and I did sport all my life. And so there I was in the gym training. People would then come up to me, kind of like old timers in the gym. You know, these dinosaurs with all their gorilla wear kit and stuff. And they were like, mate, when's your show? And I was like, what show? And he's like, you know, you competing in a bodybuilding show? I says, no, I'm not. I just do this just for me, mate, you know. Thought nothing of it. But they planted the seed. And once you realise there's a sport of bodybuilding out there, you kind of think, right, okay. So I remember like picking up Flex magazines, as I'm sure we've all done, and look through it, and I'd see pictures of like Ronnie and stuff, and I was like, Jesus, you know, look at these guys. And whilst I never wanted to be one of those guys, I admired what they'd achieved, and I relished the challenge of, right, this, if you work hard, it elicits a response, and I quite liked that. And I guess I needed to channel this athlete within. I needed to channel this kind of competitive drive, and that allowed me to do so. Then in about 2006, a friend of mine told me about the BNBF, and I was like, what? There's a natural? Because I was just training clean anyway. I didn't have any desire to use steroids or anything like that. I knew they existed.
Yeah.
So I says, right, I'm going to check out the BNBF. So I went to the BNBF Scottish in 2006, me and my mate, and there's actually a picture. I'll need to send it to you guys. It's a picture of me and Rob Hope. And I'm just like this wee kid with like this guy, and I didn't really know who he was. But I'd been told that he's like the daddy, he's the best of the best. I was all right, cool. So I went and watched the show. I watched the novice class. I thought, man, I might do that in a year or two. And I was just blown away by the whole production, the atmosphere, the condition of the guys. And I thought, yep, this is it. I want to do this. Yeah. And from that moment on, it was two years to the day I competed in the BNBF Scottish in 2008, and that was me. Like, I was just hooked on it. And you know, it's just the rest, as I say, is history. And I well and truly was bitten by the bug. So that's pretty much it. That's how I got here.
Yeah, nice one. And you know, you mentioned like you'd go in the gym and you'd see all these gorillas in there with the with all the relevant clothing and stuff. And I'm sure there's probably a lot of lads there knocking around, you know, shoving gear in them.
Yeah.
So what? And obviously, you're looking at the magazines at Ronnie Coleman, you go and whatever. You're getting into bodybuilding. What kept you away from using steroids?
Yeah, I think pretty straightforward, really. I got results quick. I got results quickly. Therefore, I never felt frustrated. I never felt the need to look for something externally to kind of speed up the process. I was lucky. I'm going to be honest. I've probably been dealt a good card genetically. I would say there's guys out there that are genetically even better, but I think I've been dealt enough that combined with work ethic, it can take me to the top. And I just found that within a couple of months, my arms were getting pumped up, and you know, every time I'd come in the gym, the guys would be like, you know, you're looking bigger, and I'd see some of them would be chatting and shaking their head like, you know, he's obviously on it and stuff, all this sort of chat. But to me, I was largely oblivious, guys. I was just enjoying going in the gym, ripping it up, doing my own thing, and then leaving. And I remember a few of the old timers used to see me in the toilets before, like I would go and train, and they're like, oh, so you stay clean all year round, mate, sort of thing. I was like that. Aye, yeah, of course I do. You know, but the thing was, to me, I didn't realise that most of those guys use drugs, because to me, I was like, you look like shit. So why would I? And as I went through, getting bigger and bigger, and then doing my show, I think a lot of people who don't know me and don't know the work behind the scenes just assume he must be taking stuff.
Yeah.
And people would say things like, guys would speak to me in the gym, be my best mate, and then I'd hear behind my back they were saying I must be on growth hormone and all this shit. And I was like, come on, man, get real.
It's largely jealousy, isn't it? Some
really
people
is,
can't achieve what you've achieved naturally. You get a lot of it online as well.
It's jealousy and ignorance. I think they're really ignorant to the work that I put in 24/7. Yeah. They only see me in the gym, but they don't see the rest of the stuff, you know?
Yeah, that's it, yeah. And obviously you're a natural pro now, so I mean, what year did you earn your pro card, and where?
It was actually 2010, Tom. I first competed in 2008 as a novice, and I won the overall, and then I won the British novice class in 2008, and I narrowly lost out in the overall. Then I came back in 2010, and I won my pro card that year. I'd won the overall at the Scottish again. And then there was a little package deal that the IFPA, who were the kind of pro affiliate to the BNBF at the time, they ran a pro universe out in the Cayman Islands that was in the end of June, I think. And they were going to take, like, Vicky McCann was competing there as a pro, Ben Tennyson, an American, 3-time WNBF pro heavyweight champ, he was going to compete with the BNBF kind of as an honorary member, a good mate of mine. So he competed out there. But the deal was the overall champion from the BNBF Scottish that year would be taken out as an amateur to compete in the IFPA amateur universe. And then the overall winner at the Cayman Islands would win the pro card. So that was my route. So I went out there and did the business out in the Caymans, and that was a great trip. And actually, it just so happens that a memory popped up on my Facebook today, actually, of there's a photo of myself, Vicky, Ben Tennyson, and Kerry Napier kind of on the beach holding a lat spread, and Kerry's white as a ghost. He's turned his back to us, and he's doing this legendary, infamous straight leg lat spread and whatnot. But great memories. But that was it was 2010. I turned pro. Yeah.
So 2006, you went to watch your first show.
I did indeed.
2010, you turned pro. I mean, that's quite whirlwind, really, isn't it? You know, within
I'd done
4
3
years.
I was a pro within 3 shows, and I know someone's done it in 2. Well, in fact, Kerry Napier did it in 2 shows in 2004, and then Nate Williams did it in 2 shows. Maybe someone else has as well, but it was quick. It was fast.
And just thinking about, like, sort of for bodybuilding historians, was there anyone in that amateur lineup that you can think of that are still competing today, and who then went
loads of guys? Absolutely, loads of guys. I mean, it's funny because you had Rob Waterhouse on your first episode, was it?
Yeah.
And Rob, in my first show at the Scottish in 2008, I was a novice and Rob was a junior champ, and we kind of met in the overall at the Scottish. And then we did the exact same thing at the British. We met at the overall in the British. We keep meeting in overalls, but he doesn't ever seem to beat me.
Shots fired, Rob.
Jokes aside, Rob's a good guy. We have a good laugh. We go way back. But guys like Darren Loxton and stuff, he was in that show, and there's guys still kicking about. Yeah. It's funny because, yes, I turned pro very quickly, so I actually missed out. It's funny because I say this to the guys. I says, don't rush it. Don't be in a rush to turn pro. You'll turn pro when you're ready and when you're good enough. But the BNBF is such an amazing fed, and the structure's so good that it's amazing competing as an amateur. And I missed that a little bit. Mark Clarkson said the same thing. He envisaged years of striving as an amateur. And I kind of I was just pro like that. So I missed the amateur strive, but I then was able to strive in the pro rank. So I guess I got the same experience.
Yeah, that's something that sort of sprung to mind there. I mean, when you're bringing up Mark Claxton, I remember talking to him maybe a year or 2 ago at a competition, and he said that he felt that he was happy to turn pro, but felt like he could have gone a bit longer as an amateur, like maybe he wasn't quite ready in his mind to turn pro.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, I think in his words, it was a little bit bittersweet because he felt that he in his mind, he hadn't quite earned that status yet, despite the fact that he had indeed earned it.
Yeah.
But I get it. It was just a little bit premature in his eyes. But his physique was ready. So,
yeah.
When your time comes, it comes.
And did you feel, when you got your pro card, did you feel ready at that point?
Yes, I did. It's an interesting one because I'd won the overall in my very first show. I was immediately catapulted to one of those guys that was being talked as being the next pro. So when it came, it was almost like a bit of relief, because I thought, right, I've basically been able to do what people expected me to be able to do. Now I can recalibrate and go forward into the pros. Yeah. And a year later, in 2011, I did my first Grand Prix, and I won that. So I was like, shit, this is going okay for me. Let's see if I can try and keep this up. And I've managed to do so. But I felt I was ready to move up when I did. But as I said, when I was competing alongside guys like Ben Tennyson in the Cayman Islands, I had to pose beside him in the hotel room because we were all kind of getting ready together. Yeah. And Guy was looking at our condition, and Jesus, when I posed next to him, I was like, shit, this is going to be a few years till I'm at that level. And that's the best thing for you. The best thing is to be the small fish in the big pond. The best thing for you.
Yeah. So that leads on nicely to my next question, Dave.
Sure.
And it's about, for those of you that don't know, Dave trains out of the Body Academy gym in Perth, which is sort of a bit of a mecca for natural bodybuilding. It's run by Vicky McCann and Guy Anderson, and you've got there's been numerous champions to come out of that gym. You've got the likes of Vicky and Guy, and you mentioned Ben Tennyson. Is there anyone specifically who stands out as an influence, someone who's influenced your bodybuilding career and maybe mentor as well to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are a lot of guys out there, competitors who I looked up to when I was coming into the sport. But in terms of people that actually made a massive impact on me, it's Guy and Vic, 100%. I walked into the Body Academy gym in October 2007. I walked in for a few sessions, and I knew who Vicky was because I'd been to the BNBF shows, but I didn't know them from Adam, really. And my mate took me through there, and I trained there. I loved the vibe, but it just so happened that, like, a week after that, I was going out to live in LA for a couple of months. And then when I came back in February, I had my eyes set on the BNBF Scottish. So I walked in the Body Academy gym, saw Vic, got speaking to them, said there's a bodybuilding club on at the end of the month. So I popped along to that with the same mate who actually I went to the show with the first time, and he said, Dave, go and pose. And I kind of said, jinx so. He said, I'm telling you, man, go and pose. They'll tell you whether you should compete or not. But he knew full well that I looked good. So up I went, complete newbie. And you know when you practice your poses in the house, so you think you've got it down. So there I went with my dazzling white briefs and hit a few poses, and I remember Vicky said afterwards, are you planning on competing this year? And I says, yeah, I was thinking about it. She goes, no, you will be competing this year. And she says, what class? I says, well, I'll be a novice, I've never competed. So from that moment on, I started coming to the Body Academy more often, and it was such an amazing place. It was special. When I used to walk in the gym, I used to get this kind of little flutter, a kind of adrenaline, because I was like, this is it. This is where I need to be. But fast forward to 7 weeks out of the BNBF Scottish. This was pivotal. This exact moment made my bodybuilding career, right? And it's a familiar story, but there's a lot of people that haven't heard the story. I knew Vicky and Guy as kind of acquaintances because I attended the gym. I said to Vicky at 7 weeks out, I'm not really sure how I'm looking, whether my condition's coming enough. Jink, maybe you can look at me and see what you think. Because at this stage, I was still eating sandwiches and everything. I thought dropping from full-fat mayonnaise to mayonnaise light was going hard, eh? So I done that. And so I stood up and posed. And Vicky was like, yeah, she was like helping me posing and stuff. And I says, well, I don't really know what I'm doing with diet. She goes, you're a bit sharper, but, we'll maybe look at things. And Guy, who I didn't know at all at this time, had come up to have a look at me. And anyone that knows Guy, he kind of just stood there and he was looking at me emotionless, kind of up and down. And I wasn't really sure what he was thinking. Yeah. So I went down the stairs and went to the counter. And Guy just came over to me, slaps a bit of paper on the counter and says, "Well, Dave, Vicky may think that your condition's okay, but in my opinion, if I was doing your diet, I'd be absolutely devastated." So I was just like, what? So he said, "In my opinion, nothing's changing at all. When you came to the first club, you were way ahead, and now nothing's different." And I was like, "Yeah, but I kind of knew it." So from that moment, Guy he took the safety clips off, wrote me out a diet. Boom, 7 weeks later, overall champ at the BNBF Scottish. Wow. And throughout that prep, Guy would look at me every week, didn't charge me for training, and then Vicky was helping me with my posing, and I went to the Scottish, and I was a champ. Now, had I not had that interaction with Vicky and Guy that day, who knows what might have happened? I would have probably continued doing what I was doing, and I wouldn't have had to kick up my arse. And that's a combination of kind of being lucky that I was able to come and like see them, but at the same time I put myself in that position where they'd seen a bit of potential in me, so they'd obviously thought, we'll help this guy. And from that first show, me and Guy worked together until present day. So they have made an enormous impact on my career.
Yeah, that's I think it's seeking out honest opinions and knowing where you're going to get actual honest criticism, not sort of blowing smoke, isn't it?
Yeah, and, I didn't know I was going to get that honest from Guy, but it's exactly what I needed. And I always say that sort of response will bring out the best in the best, and the worst in the worst. So to me, I was like, no, I need this help, because Guy had then rattled off. He used to work with Rob Hope, Vicky, Nigel, Raymond James, all the top guys. So I was like, well, I'm so fortunate that I've got the opportunity to be guided by these people, so I'm going to take it.
Yeah. I think it's important, isn't it, to put yourself out of your comfort zone, and like we've been up to the Scottish clubs and the northern clubs and stuff, and it's like you can't recommend them highly enough. The likes of the people, you've got yourself there as well, and then Vicky, Guy, Kerry, and they're all you kind of trust that you're going to get actual honest feedback, and that's what you need, because you're not going to thank someone at the end of a 12-week diet, when you stood up on stage, if they're not giving you honest feedback. So that's
and there's just another story there of how Vicky and Guy have been reasonably, pretty selfless when it comes to promoting, supporting bodybuilders, and that's bodybuilding itself.
And it gets paid forward, because people say, well, why do you always help people for nothing? I'm like, because that's the help I got. And that ethos has to maintain going forward. Otherwise, you're not going to get that straight shooting sort of feedback, and you're not going to get the best advice, and the sport's just going to become completely business orientated, and it's a sport, so it should be club like. So yeah. We'll
probably go on to talk a little bit about coaching later, but I remember, Dave, you always said when you got into the sport, we didn't have prep coaches, we had mates.
Yeah, you had mates.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
But just moving on and talking a little bit about your approach to training and nutrition and things. You've always, you keep things quite basic and what works, tried and tested.
Exactly. Do the things that work.
It's always a good approach, isn't it? So, did anything particularly change when you turned pro, or was there anything that was sort of refined, or did you pretty much just is it the same now as it was when you started back in, started competing in 2008?
Yeah, largely. The structure would be the same, and I'd still favour the compound lifts, the squat, the bench, the deads, these sorts of things, and I still train with high volume. I guess, like anyone, when I was young, before I'd kind of met Vic and Guy, my training was 80% there, but it was a bit wacky in some areas. I was probably doing some mental stuff that you do as a kid, but largely they helped kind of channel that enthusiasm and get it in a straight line. Fortunately, I was already doing the majority of things right, and I remember saying to Vicky when I first met her, I says, "This is what I do for training. Like, what do you think? Is this enough?" And she was like, "Just keep going." Because when you get into the sport, you think there's some amazing structure or periodization that's going to give you that extra muscle the secret that all the pros must use. But it's just the same. It's hard work over and over again, and nothing's changed. And I like it that way.
Yeah.
And And I genuinely love the feeling of just annihilating myself in the gym and then doing it all again the next day. That's bodybuilding.
Yeah, and it's cool. It's cool that I find, going to the Body Academy, everyone in general seems to train in the same way, don't they?
They do.
It's kind
yeah.
of like an influence there that you just sort of, you're in that environment and you just get on with training. You do the basics, you do your compounds, and
it's the stuff
and
that's fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think you can. When it comes to lifting, I mean, I've got a shit bench, and
you're not the only one, mate.
my
It's fine.
squat is reasonable, but my deadlift, I'm quite proud to say, is pretty decent when I set my mind to it. But that's just the fun stuff, isn't it? It's you got to enjoy your training. If you don't enjoy it, then what the fuck are you doing it for? You're doing it for the trophy at the end of it, because that's just not a good enough reason, I'm afraid. I did it I started initially to lose weight because I was a fat cunt at one point, and and that was my progression into bodybuilding. I just ended up meeting the right people, and they guided me in the right direction, thankfully. But yeah, just enjoy it, lift heavy, and
well,
and
that's
keep
it,
going, yeah.
because what you enjoy, you will succeed at. And I always say that, we've said it a million times, I compete because I train. I don't just train to compete.
Yeah.
And when I choose to hang up the trunks, whenever that may be, I've been in semi-retirement for years, you know that.
Yeah.
I always seem to roll up because I love training. So I'm always in a position where I can just say, yeah, I can do a diet and I'll be good to go. So that's just me. And I think it's like, I don't have a hold of bodybuilding. Bodybuilding has a hold of me.
Yeah.
So there we go.
So I mean, that's the stuff that we enjoy. But obviously, I'm sure you've listened and watched the other podcasts that we've done already, and we've got a little thing that we're making it a tradition now with every single episode. Bodybuilding 101. So we've got Room 101 for bodybuilding, essentially. I want to know, or we all want to know, what would you get rid of in today's modern world of bodybuilding? What annoys you? What grips your shit?
Yeah, I'm probably going to say similar things to what the guys have said already. But largely speaking, I'm a purist. So I love bodybuilding. I love the simple task of getting as big as you can get and then getting as shredded as you can get kind of to compete. And that's what should be rewarded. In a sport, the top guys are seen as like the best, and they're the ones that get the adulation. And then anything else is like, you're just not good enough. For example, Cristiano Ronaldo versus a Sunday League player. Now, Room 101, is it a blend of the introduction of these extra classes that we talk about? Is it an introduction of kind of Instagram and the effect that has on the bodybuilding community? I'm just going to say in general, it's these kind of bullshit classes that I would just chuck in the bin and get them out of here. Or, if they're going to be here to stay, please remove them from bodybuilding, in, don't associate them with bodybuilding shows. Get them out of there and have that as a pageantry event. Now, I do apologise if anyone out there is offended, as I'm saying, and they think, I'm calling them, they're in some sort of pageant, but realistically, that's what you are, because if you're not doing a full-scale bodybuilding, then you're doing something that's dumbed down. And you may want to do that, but you then have to accept that, well, you're not,
it's not
doing the full works. No, it's not. Well, for example, I always use like a decathlete as an example. Daley Thompson hated the 1,500 metres. He hated it, but he's had to suck it up and do it. And so it's like, let's have a decathlon. Now, we're not going to do 10 events. We're going to have 9. Actually, now we'll have 8. We'll have 7. Where does it stop?
Yeah.
And this is what's happening with bodybuilding, that you're getting, you're getting dumbed down classes, and then you're getting subsections of these classes. So you're getting, things like classic bodybuilding, which is fine for the IFBB, because not everyone can be an absolute mass monster. They distinguish between the two. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But then within classic, you're getting kind of like classic, short, medium, tall, lightweight, junior, physique, muscular physique. Same with bikini. You're getting subsections of a novice bikini. My goodness, what is that? It makes no sense to me, because bikini is for the ladies who don't want to be muscular or don't want to have such an advanced physique. And that's fine. I applaud you. I applaud anyone doing sport. But you don't then need a rookie bikini class. Come on now.
No.
And amongst all this hoo-ha, these people tend to be the people that shout the loudest on Instagram. they get followings, whereas there's people like me just sit back with an odd look on our face thinking, what the hell is happening to my sport? You know?
Yeah.
I'm going back in, battering myself on squats tonight. I'm like, what the hell am I doing?
Yeah, what are you doing it for? And then spending the rest of the week sore and knackered.
And I could never dumb it down and do those classes. Similarly, those people could never up the ante and do my class. So I guess there's a place, but I really dislike. It's not really a tangible concept, Chris. But in Room 101, I'd chuck in this amalgamation of pageantry and bodybuilding. I'd split it.
I agree with you. I like that.
And for want of a better term, I'd get it to fuck. Excuse me.
I like it. It sounds much better in a Scottish accent.
From the heart.
Yeah. But you've even got like really some of the worst ones. I think are the ones that cover. If you've got tattoos and you're covered in them, there's a category
class
for you, and it's like that's not bodybuilding. If you wanted to cover yourself in tattoos, which we all know it hides definition, it hides detail and stuff.
Do you know the problem is what it leads to? It leads to the scenario whereas you might be speaking to one of your friends and they're like, oh my sister's husband, he's a bodybuilder, and you're like, is he? And then you think, well, what does he do? And then you find out he's doing some rookie classic tattooed class, and suddenly, he's huge. I want to see the size of him, mate. And I'm just sitting there like, and sure, okay.
He's probably a pro for third place, though.
Probably, yeah. Oh, don't you can get started on the pro cards. Nah, we don't have enough time. I'll give you 101 things to put in Room 101, but the pro card issue, jeez. Okay, maybe we'll get onto that later.
That might be a whole other episode.
I'm sure we will. So we'll move on a little bit and talk about social media. And before we do, I just want to say none of us are particularly anti-social media. We all use it. There are definitely some positive aspects. We use it for promoting the podcast.
Of course.
I think there's just certain aspects of it which aren't necessarily that positive, and it's used in various different ways. But my question really is probably a bit of a long-winded one, Dave, but there's obviously been a massive growth of what you call online coaches or, quote, influencers, quote, educators. And often, and this is not sort of confined to natural bodybuilding, it's sort of bodybuilding and fitness in general. There's a lot of people who maybe haven't got the sporting achievements, but they've got lots and lots of followers, and that's sort of seen as like a barometer of success and knowledge. Does it? I know you're very self-motivated, and you only really care about the opinions of a select few people. So I know the sort of gratification aspect of Instagram and Facebook and likes and things like that doesn't bother you in the slightest. But does it bother you that we've got these people who have got like thousands and thousands of followers, and they're almost seen as like the authority on bodybuilding, and they may be putting out advice and opinions which don't really reflect what bodybuilding is and what we should be promoting? Does that kind of annoy you a little bit? Or
it does. I mean, it doesn't. It's not it doesn't grind my gears, so to speak, all day, every day. What I think it does do is it bothers me when like you say, these people are deemed to be an authority, and when you've got people like myself who have been there and done it and have the physique to show for it, our motives are questioned because Mr. So-and-so on Instagram, who's never fucking competed, but has, 200,000 followers, has said, do this. And they then... They almost don't believe or devalue your input. That bothers me. I think the general hypocrisy of it, the fakeness, it's not going to be good for the sport. It's Ben Wortley commented on that, particularly for women, that it's just a cycle. It's a cycle of insecure people making more people insecure. That's what Instagram is. Insecure Instagram. That's what they should call it. And And those people that disagree with that are just in denial. I'm sorry, but if you're a confident, secure person, you will use social media, but it will not control you. And I think what we're seeing nowadays are thousands of people, particularly newbies who get into fitness, who are controlled by social media. Would they train if they didn't have to post it on social media? Would they compete if there wasn't a social media platform to advertise it? I'm not convinced they would.
Yeah, and that's like something what Vicky was saying. We didn't when you were bodybuilding earlier. Sorry to interrupt, but you didn't have Instagram, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have all. And people just went off word of mouth. You had the sport,
yeah. And I think that then leads on to subtopics like like filming workouts and phones in the gym. Now we'll all say, look, I've filmed some lifts, I have, and I've almost tried to kind of be down with the kids and put up a few workouts, but I cannot be arsed, guys. I just want to train. It's a complete palaver. I just enjoy training, and quite frankly, if I've got something impressive to put up or something I feel is a good lift, I'll put that up. But I'm not going to be training's my time, and I'm sick of seeing people, with their phones, tripods out on the gym. I mean, there was one guy, Vic will tell you, there was a guy the other night, and he was on a leg press, a hammer strength leg press, which is a fixed motion. It's not variable motion. He had a band around the whole leg press. Whilst filming on his phone, and he was on his phone while his mate was filming him. But fortunately, his lifting shoes were the same colour as the band, so that was fantastic.
Oh, right. Okay. So that adds 10% to your strength.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just science.
And that whole thing, if I could also almost sum up Instagram fitness in one set, that was it. And it blows my mind. It blows my mind. And I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a dinosaur, as in I'm not anti-social media. I think it's really valuable, but it needs to get real. Bodybuilding needs to be bodybuilding, and fitness can be fitness. They're two different things, really.
Yeah, and it's almost like over dramatized as well, isn't it?
100%.
Of people going, they're going into battle and all this
war.
stuff, and
war.
The killing workout.
Our mate Aaron was saying, you're not going into battle. We're standing on stage in tiny trunks and tan, so we're not going into battle. You know what I mean? It's just over dramatized.
It's the same with over dramatizing sets in the gym. You're seeing guys with the smelling salts and all these hype men. It's embarrassing, man. You've seen guys are getting hyped up, and then he goes over and all he's doing is pulling like a 3-plate deadlift or something. It just cracks me up.
I love a good deadlift video. If someone's actually lifting something really impressive, I'll sit and watch that. If someone's doing 3 sets of 10 on the lat pull down, I'm skipping past you. No, it's bullshit. Just show me your strength. Show me how many reps you can do with that really heavy weight, and I'll be dead impressed with that, and I'll watch it all day.
Yeah.
But
I think it's just it's that idea that you can't kid a kidder. You can't fool me. I do it, and I do it at a top level. So you can't tell me that I don't train hard enough or I need to train harder. You can't tell me I don't diet enough because I get totally shredded. So I know the pain. I know what it feels like to lift heavy. I know what it feels like to diet to the bone. And I know what it feels like to lift heavy whilst being dieted to the bone. So I know it all. So when I hear all these people, like you said, Tom, complaining about I'm at war today, it's fucking nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. Just suck it up and get it done. Because quite frankly, the judges can't be arsed with your excuses. We'll judge you on how you look.
Yeah.
And most days when you're in the depths of prep anyway for a show, you're walking in the gym a zombie, and you're not. I don't think you're actually geared up for war.
No,
you know what I mean. You just sort of going in there, getting it done, and doing what you need to do to get yourself in the shape you need to be in to stand on the stage.
And that's bodybuilding. The grind. I will say bodybuilding is the grind when no one is looking. That is what bodybuilding is.
Yeah, that's mint.
And and the last thing you want to be doing is posting your meals on.
Yeah.
Everyone's
1 to 5.
Everyone's doing it. You don't need to post it. So moving on a little bit, Dave. I know that you do coach a little bit, on, in addition to your lecturing work, and that's, I guess, more out of just sort of joy and love of that. But you quite yourself and Vicky and even Rob that we're talking about. You quite low key compared to some of the other online coaches. And would you tell us a little bit about your coaching services and what you do?
So I mean, no different from anyone else. I do prep people for shows. I tend to focus more on competitive bodybuilders rather than just Mr. Joe Public trying to lose a bit of weight. But I have PT'd kind of like general clients anyway. But, you know, I will prep folk. It tends to be people that I know already and people that I've known for a while and who have worked with me for a while. I tend not to take on clients who just fire me a message 4 weeks out from a show, 6 weeks out saying, mate, do you think you can guide me in for the last 6 weeks? I'm like, nah, I don't want to touch that. Because I would then need to undo the damage you've done, and that's not a true reflection of my ability as a coach. For me to get you as good as you can be under my tutelage, I would need to have you for pretty much a full off season before we go into the prep as well, because your on season, I always say your on season dictates the success of your prep. So if you want to work with me, or if, you know, that's something you might want to do in the future, I would get in touch very early. And then, you know, I've had a good run for the amount of clients that I prep. We tend to get good results. So, and these are guys that have followed it through. I mean, that's what, because we were talking about this with Rob and maybe Vicky as well, about, because you've had you know, a lot of client success, but people maybe don't actually know about it, and you basically let your clients have their success. You don't go shouting about it, and that's you know, I think that's admirable. That, you know, potentially sometimes with the growth of social media, coaches use their clients to promote themselves in a way. But are you quite conscious of just sort of, you know, you're providing a service at the end of the day? Well, it's one of those things that when I first got into teaching, I'll never forget when my lecturer said, try not to think of yourself as a teacher. A good teacher's a facilitator. And I was kind of like, that's a bit of an odd statement, but now I understand what he meant. And it's the same with prep. I'm just facilitating someone's ability to get in shape. They need to do the work. I can only give them the advice. It doesn't matter who issues a client with sweet potato. If they're not doing the work, they're not going to get in shape. Yeah. So to me, when all is said and done and it comes out in the wash and they've won, that's their success. It's not mine. They've paid me the money, and I've got them where they need to be. And if they choose to big me up, more power to them. But I certainly don't ask for it. And I certainly don't hijack a client's success by claiming it's all me. You know, this person would be nothing without me, which is more and more common. And also what happens is this then leads to this idea of I'll trample on anyone to get to the top. So I'll slag anyone I can to get as a coach to get higher. And then you get athletes who coach hop. You'll have seen that a lot. You get a lot of athletes who they're with a different coach every 3 months or every 6 months, and they're like, oh man, the problem's not with the coach, the problem's with you.
Yeah. They're the common denominator, aren't they?
So it's quite a fickle and ruthless, backstabbing world, the world of coaching, I would imagine. Thankfully, I don't personally do it for a living, though. So I enjoy it, though. Don't get me wrong.
And, you know, with your background in teaching as well, do you try and work with your client to sort of, you know, you're not just sort of giving them a plan and getting them to come back to you each time? Are you working with them to sort of teach them the principles of what they're doing so that maybe in the future they can then 100%, apply them?
100%. Because I always think myself, when I got into bodybuilding, I was like a sponge. I was sucking up all the information. So I like to think my athletes should be like that. And I'm imparting knowledge, so they should pick up principles from me. A coach should always be able to validate and explain what they're doing as well. And you don't want to be one of those coaches who's just constantly changing someone's diet to look busy. That's a sign of a bad coach. If you're dealing with a client, a coach who's constantly changing your diet, then I would be worried about that, because that suggests that they ain't got it right the first time. You know, a good coach gets it right and then just facilitates the process.
Like that. Yeah, nice one.
We've got a few other topics, but we've also got quite a lot of listener questions, which we might move on to. But I think we're just going to ask Chris. There's a bit of interaction, I think, on the live stream. Yeah.
So basically, a couple of viewers to mention. We've got James Poyner.
Oh.
We've got OPO, who tuned in last time, I think.
Yeah, he did.
We've also got Thomas Wilkie, Ashley Healy, Christopher Chiffy McCready, with a big shout-out saying, awesome.
Thanks, mate.
We've got... and another one from Chris, saying buzzing. Buzzing like a bee. H. Roscoe Sanchez, Annabelle Edgar, Vicky McCann and Guy Addison, Ryan Howells, Edward Davidson, shout out to you guys, Eric Dowie, Mark Taylor, also up in Scotland.
Thanks very much.
Yeah. Annabelle Edgar says, good morning, guys.
Good morning, Annabelle.
And Ryan Howells, do we know Ryan?
Yeah, we do know Ryan.
We do, yeah.
And I think he commented during the 101, Room 101 segment, what about the street model class in ICN?
Oh, right.
Right. Wearing jeans on stage. What's that about?
I think we did touch on that whilst we were off air.
I think Dave made his opinions known on
that. And we've got, it's either Edie or Eddie Keith.
Right. Okay. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Says, yes, Dave, best natty of all time.
Oh,
there you go.
That's
kind words.
That's
indeed.
quite a title. Don't know if I agree with that, but appreciated.
No actual questions on the timeline. On the comments.
That's okay, because we've got plenty
of people watching.
Thanks very much for watching.
Don't forget, guys, make sure you like, share, and comment on this post.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool. So we might get back to a few other bits. We'll see how we are for time, but we'll run through some of the questions. So the first one was from Dan North, and I think he's a bit of a joking one because he maybe saw the seminar that you did at the Irish show. He was asking who out of yourself, Vicky and Davey Hanna, is pound for pound the strongest.
Did we work it out?
I would say, when fully healthy, I would say Davey Hanna's probably pound for pound the strongest, and he has actually competed. Vicky's competed in our powerlifting comps as well, but Davey's actually done legit lifts in comp that surpass anything I've done in the gym pound for pound. So I'm going to give that one to Davey Hanna. He can have that one.
Yeah, I remember that question being asked, and we struggled at the time to figure it out, didn't we?
I think
the competitive Dave came right out that day, like the calculator and everything. We've got one here from Opio. I think we might have covered it, but he says he wants to know what's your approach to your off-season nutrition. What do you stick to? He wants to know how many meals a week you would have each week, and do you limit yourself to a particular body weight?
Nah, not really. My body kind of seems to level out. It seems to know when it's had enough in terms of weight gain. It seems to kind of just tap out. And each year I try and get a little bit heavier in my off season, because to me that then dictates that I should, in theory, have more muscle. Meal structures tends to be the same as it would be on prep. Clean foods during the week, a little bit of treats as and when. I don't really schedule cheats at the weekends any more than I would schedule a cheat on a Wednesday night. It just depends on my circumstances. I tend to be a social eater, so I'm quite happy with my clean foods when I'm on my own, but when I'm out with mates and stuff, I'll just eat whatever. And I think, if you've done enough diets and you've got lean enough, you'll know when too much is too much in the off season and when you need to rein it in. Because then there comes a point where getting heavier offers nothing in terms of extra muscular gain. Your training, you might be slightly stronger in the gym, but that's just because your leverages are more advantageous. It's not actually because you've got any more muscle or producing any more force. So I would say, personally, 20 pounds would probably be the upper limit for me over contest weight. Maybe not even that. Some people might be recoiling in horror at the moment, thinking, shit, I'm like 40 over and I thought it was okay. Yeah. But each to their own, but that's what works for me, and it's consistency. And if you get that little bit better, I mean, if I've been competing for a decade, if you get a couple of pounds heavier each year of quality muscle, that adds up. So I think that dispels the myth that you need to get massive in an off season to then get bigger. Particularly as a natural, I don't think your body works like that. It'll only do it at its own pace.
Yeah.
And Dave, do you think it's important to get back to that off-season set point as sort of quickly as possible out of the show, or do you have a reverse dieting approach?
Nah, I would probably balance out somewhere in the middle. I would urge caution against ramming the food in to get the weight up quickly. I don't think that's good for you, but I would not advise a slow and controlled reverse diet out of a show either. No thanks. You've been in a deficit for 16, 20, 24 weeks, maybe more. Your body doesn't want to be there. Get the food back in. Get at least 6 to 12 pounds on relatively soon. And you'll find that the first 10, 12, 14 pounds above stage weight is what makes the biggest difference to your performance in the gym. You'll feel amazing a stone over stage weight, as opposed to 2 stone over stage weight. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that first stone counts. So yeah, I would be sensible, man. This is a thing. This term reverse dieting is nothing new. Call it normal eating. That's all it is. But it's become buzzword, fad, all this. You know, there's binge eating and then normal eating. You know, pick which one you think's the best.
Yeah. Okay, we've got another one. I'm not sure.
Can I just interrupt?
Yeah.
We do have a question now. Somebody sent one through.
Yeah.
Well, we've got the first one is a shout out to Stuart Geddes.
Okay, yeah.
It's always a pleasure watching this guy train every night.
Yeah, Stuart trains at the Body Academy. Yeah, good guy.
But we do have a question from Ryan Howells.
Oh, yeah.
What's your thoughts on mini cuts in the off season? Have you ever done this, and for what reason? Seems to be all the rage these days by kids who want to keep their social media active. Mini cuts in the off season.
I suppose that runs on from what I just said about, you know, applying a sense of consideration and consistency in the off season. I wouldn't. If you need to mini cut in the off season, it's probably because you've just kicked the arse out of it initially, isn't it? That's what it says to me. You've overshot and you're like, shit, I need to bring this back down. I like to just a steady weight gain, and I like to hold it there. I've never actually consciously done a mini cut in any of my off seasons, no. But then I never get massively fat either. And I think you get a point where you will get, after a show, the first 6 months are the most anabolic you're ever going to be, okay? You'll get a linear strength and muscle increase for about 6 months. Thereafter, it'll really slow down. And if you keep pushing it, if you keep the surplus high, you're just going to continue adding a higher percentage of body fat versus new accrued tissue. And you tend to find that as you come back down in the off season, you're really, I mean, similar to what I said. I think if you're zigzagging to I don't know what Ryan describes as a mini cut, but to me, for it to be worthwhile, it'd have to be at least, 4 weeks to really do anything. And I think if you're having to go to those measures in the off season, you've miscalculated earlier. That's my opinion. That's just the way I do it.
Yeah.
And that's why he's asking. So Ryan. That was a long-winded way of saying no. I don't do it. Be smart. Smart.
It's like you say as well. It's all just like a lot of the time applying different names to things, isn't it? Like like you maybe get a little bit too heavy and you taper back, but then people
do you know what?
define it as a mini cut now.
To sum up, I think how I normally do it is I get that, like you say, that first couple of months, 2, 4, 6 months where you get a real big increase in size and strength. You get your weight up, and then thereafter it slows down, and you get into this process of maintenance. But I actually think in the off season it's like a gaintaining, if that's a word. You're kind of maintaining, but you are adding incremental bits of muscle, and you're getting denser, and the muscle's becoming more mature. That's important as well. I think a lot of people don't realise that you could sit at virtually the same body weight in an off season for a good 6 months, but that doesn't mean that you're not going anywhere. That new tissue is being added to your body. Tissue that gets added onto your physique after a diet needs to be there, and you need to hold it on your physique before you start dieting again. Otherwise, it's going to come off.
Yeah.
And people don't realise that.
That makes sense.
We had another question from, I'm not sure who it is, but the name on Instagram is Sash_physique. She basically asks what your current training split is, just briefly.
Yeah. Training split is typical one body part a week. The only body part I do twice a week is shoulders. And the reason I do shoulders twice a week is I think they were always lagging because I'm particularly trap dominant. So I needed a bit of an extra shoulder work to create that cap. So on Monday I'll do back, Tuesday I'll do shoulders and triceps, I'll have a rest day Wednesday, Thursday I'll do legs, Friday I will do chest and biceps, and Saturday I'll do a small shoulder workout, and then I'll rest Sunday. So I'm currently doing 5 days a week, 2 rest days, and for the most part of my career I did a 4 day a week, 3 rest day kind of split. And that's it. Call it bro split, call it what you want. I don't like push-pull legs, I don't do that. I tried that a couple of times and I felt it just wasn't intense or specific enough. Probably people out there like, well, you just don't know how to do it, all this sort of thing. But to me, as a bodybuilder, when you get to an advanced level, might be okay for beginners, but when you get to an advanced level, push-pull legs, the push and the pull is not specific enough for each individual body part to get that kind of blowtorch effect on the individual body part.
Yeah, and I think it reflects in your physique anyway, David.
Yeah,
you are where you are, and probably one of the most.
Well, this is it. This is it. It's the sort of thing that I always question, as most of the top guys will do, is they question what could I be doing better, but ultimately, I must be doing something okay because I'm the one that keeps improving, whilst everyone else, who's mouthing off, doesn't get any better. So you tend to find the guys that keep improving are the guys that just are consistent and they work hard. Yeah. Who would have thought?
I was just going to say, as another pro world champion on Team Bro Split. So,
yeah. Big Rob Waterhouse.
Make what you will of that. So we've got another question from Jamie Sands. He asks, who were or are your bodybuilding heroes, and who sort of keeps you motivated from a other competitor point of view?
Yeah. I hope I don't disappoint people, but I was never really one of those guys that looked at individuals and thought they inspire me. I kind of was internally motivated a lot of the time. There was guys on the scene that I could look to and think, I want to get to where they got. I think when I got into the sport, Rob Hope was the man. When I first got into the sport, Rob Hope was the man. The best of the best. I saw him guest pose in 2006, and it blew my mind. And to this day, I'll say I've seen Ronnie Coleman guest pose. I've seen Jay Cutler guest pose. That Rob Hope guest pose was every bit, if not more, impressive than any of those guys. So Rob, he was an inspiration as to what the best look like. In Scotland, we're fortunate. We've got Vicky as a pro. We've got guys like Kerry Napier, who was influential to me when I got into the sport. Raymond James. Now, Raymond James is a name that a lot of the guys might not know these days, but he won his pro card in 2007. And I remember seeing Raymond at the Scottish in 2007, and I was blown away. And Raymond was one of those physiques that I kind of was aspiring to get to, because he had a similar look to what I like, that condition from the rear, the glutes in, just that detail everywhere, really balanced physique. So Raymond had a bit of an influence on me. Guys like Davey Hanna, another Scotsman, incredibly strong work ethic. If anyone wants to know about work ethic, Davey Hanna will teach them a thing or two. Absolutely, an absolute animal in the gym. And then guys like I mentioned, Ben Tennyson beforehand. Ben, because he became a friend of mine, he was another guy like Rob Hope that I looked at as, this is the top of the tree. When you see Ben Tennyson pose in the flesh, a metre away from you, you realise how much work you have to do. So guys like that, they're the guys that always kept me on my toes. I never ever thought I was making it. And it's funny that despite the fact that I've achieved virtually everything, I still don't ever think I'm anywhere near the level of these guys, because I was the kid looking up to them. Yeah. So and I mentioned before in a few podcasts, when you're backstage, you don't think, oh, I'm a pro world champ. You're just like, I'm just Dave. Dave. Hoping I look okay. And I don't think that ever goes away. And that's a great irony of the sport. So, yeah, that's a few names for you. I've probably missed loads of folk out, but, you get the idea that it wasn't really one person in particular. It was a general awareness of the guys that have come before me, and that's what's missing these days as well. Having that awareness, being a little student of the sport, being a historian, knowing who's come before you. Yeah. Because I could rattle off the names of like every BNBF champ in every year. No, do you know what I mean? And I don't think a lot of folk could do that anymore.
No.
That's the point, isn't it? There probably is people, in the past maybe had a bit more of awareness of the champs that have come before them, whereas now it's a bit easier to just step on stage.
It's really accessible to a lot of people, isn't it? Because, like we said, we've discussed it, and I won't labour it, but because of the dawn of social media, it gets out there quite a lot more. It's now a bit more mainstream than it ever was before. It's not quite. It's not quite a niche market. There's a class that anyone who's been training for 6 months can fit into.
And people could say that's a good thing, but I'm not. Yes, it is for numbers, but in terms of quality, it probably doesn't attract the right people, because back in my day, when we were in the gym, as I said, Tom, you had mates, and you almost didn't get to compete. You weren't taken seriously until you were good enough to step on stage. So it typically meant when you then stepped on stage, you did well, and that's what the Body Academy instilled in me. That we're not putting you on stage until you look as good as you can look, and that's a good environment to be in. Yeah. That'll make you improve.
And something else you said there about when you go in on stage, you're not going on stage in your mind as David K the Pro. You're going up there as David, just hoping that he looks the part and can stand next to the guys that are on the stage as well. And I think the people we've spoken to already are all pretty much the same. There's that humbleness will take you a long way. I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, Dan North, who's obviously commented earlier, and this was just last night. People tend to, the second you start thinking you're better than anyone else is when you're going to fall quite hard, because there's always someone out there who's better than you.
Pride cometh before the fall.
Yeah, but being humble is what keeps you working hard, because you look at somebody else who probably isn't a good a bodybuilder or doesn't look as good when they're on stage, but because you look at those people and you don't look at yourself in the same light, you think they're better than you when they're not. It helps you, it pushes you on. It does for me. It spurred me on to try and make myself a bit better, because I look at somebody else and go, well, they look like this, when in fact I might actually just be that little bit better than them.
And bodybuilding, I agree. No, I agree. And bodybuilding's a sport of self-improvement. By definition, it's about getting better, and I always thought the pressure that I put on myself to be better is enough of a drive. But you then add in the kind of the seeds of self-doubt that get woven along the way, and we all get that. And I kind of think that one of my driving forces while I compete is to be better on stage. It's a massive, I wouldn't call it a fear, but I would never want to get on stage thinking I don't look as good as I looked before. Yeah. To me, that's I don't want to do that. It's all about being better for me. And sometimes you might not be able to do that because for external factors or influences, but you can certainly give it your all, and that's what it was to me. And being better at that time. I
felt that last year. Obviously, you've seen me compete since probably my first competition in 2012, and so 2012, 2014, and 16. Not quite hitting the mark, getting in condition there or thereabouts, but never quite hitting the mark. But so last year for me, it was just like, it helped. I need that. Those previous years just made me push that a little bit harder, make sure that when I stepped on that stage, people didn't recognise me.
Correct.
From previous years. I mean, that's not to say that I was absolutely outstanding. I did as well as I had hoped, and just echoing what you're saying there.
What you've done is you've moved the goalposts upfield a little bit, and now, little do you know, you've got the pressure on yourself to beat that.
yeah.
And you must beat that, and people want you to. So that's all the motivation you're going to need.
That is in the back of my mind right now, is that once you've hit a certain mark, or you've won a particular qualifier, or you've done something, you've got to either match that or better it, and that is the pressure then that is on most competitors.
Yeah, and I think looking at yourself, Dave, that's kind of the mark of, when we talk a lot about who are the best natural bodybuilders in the world, and it's the replication over year. It's not just having. I think you've spoken about this before. It's not just having your one good season where you dominate. It's coming back year on year, and we said in the intro that you've got 4 Grand Prix titles there and 2 overalls, and you've been competing as a pro for coming up to 10 years now. That's kind of the mark of a true champ, isn't it? Coming back.
Yeah,
like that.
It is. Yeah, it's longevity, and if you look at any sport, in order to be classed as like great in the sport, you have to have been at the top for a long time, and you have to have kind of faced many opponents and overcome and all this. And I think, a flash in the pan result's fine, but in order to be really classed as kind of the real deal, you need to be able to replicate that over and over again. And that's what I've been fortunate to be able to do. So maybe my training does work, eh?
Yeah.
We've got time for a couple more shout-outs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go for it.
So a couple of shout-outs to Ryan Allen and Mark Swales, who just joined. But Ryan Allen does have a question. Have you ever thought about putting on your own show or being involved with shows from an organisation point of view?
I'm not quite sure what he means by that. Putting on my own show, as in running my own show.
Yeah, running your own show or being involved. No.
Well, I mean, the thing is, because I'm obviously massively involved in the BNBF, and in my opinion, we put on the best shows. We've got an amazing team, an amazing event management team. So I kind of feel that we do it right already. So I don't really have any desire to do anything else. No, but. I can't really say it's something that I can see happening either. I think we already do it right. So
yeah.
That's about it for the shout-outs and the questions.
So we got a couple in from your fellow pro Mark Claxton. He's asked a couple of questions.
It's not about a sword, is it? If there's a question about a sword, I get
it. He says, how many US dollars do you think have been spent between yourselves on microwaves for the Hyatt?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I hate every year I leave Miami having given my microwave to a maid. Just that one lucky lady that comes in. Oh man, like hundreds, mate. It's frightening. The amount of money I've spent on microwaves and then sweet potatoes when I compete abroad is frightening. But hey, you do it for the love of the sport.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think the profits in Whole Foods go up that weekend, don't they?
Oh, they certainly do.
But he also asks, is the front porch granola pancakes the reason you came back for more than one world title?
Yes. Also, I made an upgrade in 2017 because I went for the pancakes and the breakfast burrito at the same time. So if you ever compete again, Claco, dust off those trunks. It's worth it. Good times.
Yeah, cool.
We got one from Macy Scrivener. I think he trains with Mark. He's competing this year as well. I think he asks, what's your favourite meal to break the diet after a comp?
Oh, jeez. Oh, I would say it's a combination of the food type and also the company. That makes a big difference. But I would say you can't go wrong with a really good burger. You can't go wrong with a really good burger. Pizza's good, and I like carrot cake. If I get a really good carrot cake, I'm a happy man. Yeah.
Yeah, they sound really good to me. So, any more have we got?
We have, yeah. We've got one from Theo Golab, a regular BNBF competitor.
Yeah.
He's got a few questions actually. One is, do you think not announcing who is competing hurts the sport, as there's no real hype, unless it's sort of before the British finals when everyone knows who's competing? So he thinks basically, do you think us as amateur competitors should be putting things out more as to try and promote the hype?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, that kind of taps into the social media thing. I think people are different, and some people are going to be comfortable with hyping themselves up, and others aren't. Much like a Dorian Yates used to just lock himself away, and then other guys like a Sean Ray would be more flamboyant. I don't know about that, Theo. I think that, for example, in the pro lineups, yes, I think if you could generate an athlete profile and head-to-heads coming up, I think that would be something that people want to see. And the amateurs, not sure. I think the BNBF season caters for that a little bit as well. I think because when all the qualifiers are done, it paints a picture, and each season is a story. And I used to think that when I did the straight from the table and used to do reports, by the time I got to the Britain, it was a whole story, the season, and then the finals was just the final chapter. So interesting question. I'm not sure if I can give you a conclusive answer on what I think about that.
Yeah. Because I think you do get that when it gets to finals. You do get that hype, don't you? Because
people
you know
really
everyone who
enjoy the competitions.
Yeah.
We always want to know, like you just said there, they want to know which of the pros are going to turn up, because that's always a great spectacle. You know, not just from the symmetry round or the muscularity rounds, but the pose down. How much fun are they every single year? You know, get out in the crowd, pose for them, pose for, you know, get up close and personal with your family and stuff like that. It's those getting on the judges' tables. They're always a good laugh.
These are the moments that you need to kind of soak in, because it goes like a flash, and you diet for so long for that little time. So I think as you get on in your career, you begin to kind of relish in those moments. You live in the moment,
Theo also asks, what food or drink do you miss the most when dieting?
I don't mind the diet food. I think it's that sensation of feeling satisfied after a meal that I miss. Because you know how it is, when you get on your diet, you can literally eat, and it's like it just goes, it doesn't even touch the sides.
Yeah,
you're just
still hungry.
You're hungry, eat it, and you're hungry. You're like, fantastic, you know. This is going to be a real great
you've
day.
waited 3 hours for your meal, you eat it, and then you're still hungry.
What I miss is the freedom to just have something. That's the biggest thing, you know. Sometimes you just have, like, get food on the go or pick up something on the run. That's a nice feeling. And just a biscuit with your coffee or whatever. I miss that. And even things like coffees. Like I have quite a lot of milk in my coffees in the off season, but as the diet goes on, I have less and less and less.
Yeah.
So simple things like a milky coffee and some scrambled egg on toast when I'm done, that you can't go far wrong with that. You know, doesn't have to be extravagant.
So good.
Yeah.
Okay, another one from Theo. Have you ever been out of shape in the off season?
No. Out of shape for me is probably pretty decent shape for someone else. It's all opinion, but I don't know. I like to be able to train. I like to be able to see things happening even in the off season. And don't get me wrong, as much as I don't become a fat bastard in the off season, it still takes me a hard 16 weeks to the first show to get in shape. Add another 6 weeks to the Worlds. So I still need to do a long diet. It's just the final product is obviously extremely lean. But, you know, for me to get any heavier would just be stupid. There'd be no point in that. It wouldn't make me any better bodybuilder, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it doesn't really matter who you are, does it, or how good a shape you can get into when you get into the end.
It's going to hurt.
Yeah, those finer details are what really matter, aren't they?
Yeah.
And then we've got a final one from Theo. Who do you think your biggest threats are, both domestic and worldwide, from a competitive point of view?
Assuming that, like, everyone competed every year. No one, I'm the man. I would say
you're the man to beat, though.
I would say, in terms of current competitive pros, I'd say Nate. I'd say Nate Williams, a guy that, okay, put it this way, who do I think I could compete against and I might not win? It would be Nate.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's my answer to that.
And he keeps his cards close to his chest, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I did ask him when he.
So I mean that, and you know, that's no disrespect to anyone, but I feel that, like, he's the only guy at the moment that if I was standing at the back of the stage and it was just me and him left, if I got called in second place, I'd be able to say fair enough.
Yeah.
Probably got beat by the better guy on the day.
Yeah.
And I think for everyone else, I'd be a little bit pissed off, and like I thought I could have done better or something, but hey ho, I don't know. It's difficult to talk in these circles without kind of undermining the other pros, because I always say at the top level, you can win or lose a show on fine margins, and if you were to then compete again, say 2 weeks later, that result could get flipped. It's one of those things that there's loads of guys out there that are going to be top rivals for me, because it's a genetic bottleneck at the top.
You never know what someone's going to look like on that day. You know,
correct. Whether you're totally on it
all the way in, and then on that day something goes a little bit wrong.
It can even be not something even as severe as it going wrong. It can just be I was a wee bit flat at judging, and that's enough for you to be second rather than first. And then at night you can't make it up. It's it can be so fine.
Yeah.
And as a pro, you develop strategies as the kind of years go on to fine tune and learn your body so that you are correct on the day, and you control all the variables. And that's something that I've been able to do as a pro, and that's experience. You can't buy that.
Yeah.
What would you say? And I don't know if we've really maybe touched on things throughout this conversation. What are your best moments in bodybuilding so far?
Good question. Yeah. My best moment in bodybuilding, it might surprise people, but for me, competitively, it was winning my very first show, winning the overall at my first show.
Right, yeah.
At the BNBF Scottish. In terms of a moment and a second in time, that was amazing, because to me that was a culmination of the hard work I've put in thus far, that feeling that I've arrived, I'm good.
Yeah.
I fuck you to all the naysayers who are like that. What, you're going to do bodybuilding? You can't do that. I was like, well, here I am. I'm BNBS. I'm Mr. Scotland.
Yeah,
so
nice one.
So get it up, yeah. But, and then there's of course been loads of amazing moments, both competitively and kind of with mates and stuff thereafter. But that one sticks out. I think it's because it was like the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, that was great.
And we've got a little bit of time, have we?
What was?
Well, basically, we've got your best moment, but so is there a worse moment that you've had, or a moment you've least enjoyed?
Yeah, I suppose that in 2013, it's a bit of a running joke between myself and guys like Mark Clarkson that we're always broken. We're always broken. We've always injured something. And in 2013, that was my defence of my Grand Prix. So that was preparing for my Grand Prix number 2. And I sustained a really bad back injury in that prep. And it was so bad that, Tom, you're obviously a medic. I don't know what I'd done, but I'd basically I think I'd fucked my back so badly that all the nerves running into my left leg were completely desensitised. And I had about 20% feeling in my leg. And that lasted for about 6 weeks. And I was trying to prep with that. I couldn't train legs. I couldn't do back. It eventually came good, and I won the show. I won the Grand Prix, and then I ended up being second in the Worlds that year. But that was horrendous. That was the worst prep imaginable. And I always say that I can always prep because I've done that one. Nothing's as bad as that. It was a bit of a low point. Tom, you'll probably remember, I think you were there, when after the Worlds in 2017, when I'd won the heavyweight class and won the overall, and there was a bit of a social media shitstorm after that, because one particular competitor was a bit disgruntled that he got his arse kicked. But hey, that's life. And that put a downer. That put a downer on it, because I'd won the show, I'd been through a hard prep, I was just there to have a good time in Miami with my girlfriend and my friends after, and all I was hearing about was so-and-so moaning and bitching about this X, Y, and Z. And you know what social media is like. Everyone jumps on. And it was like Britain v America sort of thing. And that was annoying, because as an athlete, you should have more respect. And as a pro athlete, you should have enough respect to know when you were bested by the better man. And I won that show. And matter of fact, I won it easier than I did in 2015. So I don't know what all the fuss was about. But there you go.
Yeah,
it's all in the past.
Yeah, because I remember speaking to you the morning after that, and you were a bit disgruntled, and it was it was a shame, because it was such a good pro lineup as well that year. Yes. It was amazing, and everyone was very respectful. Otherwise, but yeah, it was.
And that kind of takes away from the hard work that you obviously put in.
Yes,
and that undermines you a little bit.
Yeah, and I always say that you should accept. I always like to think that I've been able to accept a defeat with the same graciousness that I would accept victory, right? And you just assume that your fellow pros will be able to do that as well. But obviously, that wasn't the case on the day. But it wasn't the first, and it won't be the last. But it doesn't bother me anymore. I don't hold grudges. But that was a bit of a downer, that one. But I still won the show, and I'm proud of what I did and the achievements and stuff. So
yeah, rightly so.
The one other question I just had, I think you've mentioned before, with regards to people that you would like to compete against, either past or present. I know that in the past you mentioned, I think, Philip Ricardo Jr. You mentioned Ben Tennyson. there anyone else that you would particularly like to compete against? Maybe an active competitor, or maybe someone who is now retired.
I do feel that I mentioned Ben Tennyson before because he's a good mate of mine, and Ben actually came over and did a guest pose at the BMWF Britain in 2007, the year Raymond James won. So Ben was one of those guys I always looked up to. I would like to have competed against Ben as a pro, because when we did a show together, I was in the amateur lineup, he was in the pro, and he won that pro lineup against some amazing athletes. So I think me and Ben, we needed to lock horns as pros, but it's not going to happen. Ben's long hung up the trunks, but I think he would be my top choice. Currently, there's loads of good guys. I'm not going to name one in particular because you know what it's like. It's just the list can go on and on.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, I've always been an advocate of this idea of a pro super show that you talked about before. I think you talked with Vicky about it. That I want to have all the top dogs, or those that claim to be the top dogs, on stage together, and the fans want it. But I just, for whatever reason, I don't think it's going to happen. Yeah. And it's also a shame because I think there's an amazing era of pros that is coming to an end. So I don't think you're ever going to get to see everyone in their prime competing together. You know, there's guys like, so at one end of the spectrum you've got your Philip Ricardo Jr.'s, who was like one of the top guys when I was getting into the sport. Rob Hope had just left. You had Rico. You then have your Doug Millers. You then got Siobhan, and then myself and your Brian Whitakers, and you've obviously got your Big Rich and Sam and Adrian from Britain as well. And we're all on our way out, I think. Maybe I might be doing the guys a disservice, but I think the chances of getting us all on stage in our prime is fading.
That's pretty sad, that, because I think as an event that would be pretty amazing, and natural bodybuilding fans I think will really love that, and I'd like to see it.
It's like boxing. It's like by the time you finally got Mayweather and Pacquiao together, it wasn't what it should have been. This sort of thing. And personally, though, I'm still confident. I'm still in my prime, and I think this year, if I get the trunks on, I'll be at my best ever. So I don't want to be too hasty in that assumption that I made.
Years left in you yet, Dave. Years.
Oh, apparently so.
So, I don't know if anyone watching has noticed. We've got a little bit of an electrical issue. So if it's, I just thought I'd make mention of it.
It's not too bad on camera. But I've not put the pound in the slot this morning, Chris. So I apologise. It's flickering away. We've got a problem with the electrics in here.
It's all right. It's not bothering me too much.
It's like a disco, mate.
But if we've been lucky enough that the lights haven't gone out. Apparently, they went out on Ronnie Coleman the other night while they were going live. But I think we've been quite fortunate. But just another quick thank you to everyone who's been listening so far. If you haven't already, give us a like, a comment, and share. Also, just quick mention to HR Labs. Thank them once again for their support, sponsoring this podcast. It's really important that we've got people that are behind us. Otherwise, these can't happen. We can't get guests on. And we're not doing it for profit. We do it because we love it and we like to talk. And me in particular, I like to talk shit sometimes. And it's a great outlet. And I think we just need to carry on supporting it. So thanks to everyone so far who has given us great feedback. Also, Chris, just going to make mention of the competition you're going to run before we move on to ours.
Absolutely. I've got a poster here for you, Chris, if you want to hold it for me.
Yeah, will do. Just pass it on.
It's one he prepared earlier.
I've just torn it down from the wall. If you can hold it up to that camera there for me, Chris. So Phil Heath, the legend, the gift, 7 times Mr. Olympia, is coming to Wigan on Tuesday, the 9th of July, 7:30 onwards. You can take it down now, mate. We can see your pretty face. And essentially, 2 of the viewers of this podcast will be bestowed 2 free tickets. So if you are in the northwest area of England or further afield, feel free to like this podcast, comment with a hashtag. What was it?
Phil Heath win.
Phil Heath win. And obviously, if you do want to get the tickets, we'd like you to share this post out as well, and we'll announce a winner tomorrow evening. Give you guys a chance to rewatch this back. But you've also got your own competition as well, haven't you guys?
We have. HR Labs have kindly donated one of their pre-workouts and some CBD oil, I believe that is. We've got all the names in the hats here. this wonderful hat. I'm going to hand it over to Tom to pick a name out.
Yep. I was just saying, Dave, if you've got to get off, we can close the conversation with you.
Well, yeah,
we'll do a wrap up.
No probs. I'll sign off and say, thanks everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you can take something from it. Thanks again, you guys, for having me on. And I'd like to reiterate the shout out to the sponsors, HR Labs. Cheers for that, guys. Shout out to my sponsor, Unrivaled Nutrition. Keeping it real for the athletes, and that's me out. And I'll see you at a show, BNBF show soon. Okay.
Dave, thanks for coming on.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Dave. Cheers. Take care, man.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Okay.
So
just close that window down for me, if you can, Tom. That's great. Thank you very much.
Right. So we'll get the right.
So just to remind the viewers what they're winning here.
So they are winning a tub of HR Labs DFib. It's a pre-workout product which is fine for natural athletes. There's no WADA prohibited substances. They're also winning a bottle of their CBD oil. Again, that is not.
It conforms to WADA.
It conforms basically to WADA, basically. So,
should we have a drum roll? Come on, Chris. And who's won?
We've got Connor Gazzard.
Well done, Connor.
So
well done, Connor.
He will pass that on to Liam at HR Labs, and we'll get your prize sent out to you.
Great stuff.
Thanks, HR, for that donation. Very kind of you indeed.
So, we've said bye to Dave. We'll just do a little bit of a wrap up and what we've got coming up in the future. So again, thanks for listening. Continue to share on Instagram and on Facebook. The video will go up on YouTube probably in the next sort of few days, but keep sharing the Facebook stream. We've got a few other guests in the lineups. We'll announce those in the coming weeks. We've got some big guests lined up again. We've also obviously the natural bodybuilding season's kicked off. We've got a lot of upcoming shows still from the BNBF, the UK DFBA, and the MPA. Yep. So check out all of their social media pages for the dates and things like that. I'll be certainly trying to get to a few of those shows as well. I think myself and Chris will both be at the next BNBF show, which is the Central at the end of this month. I think it's the 27th, isn't it? 27th on a Saturday, yeah.
I think you guys should do some live commentary or something like that. What do you think?
Well,
now you're the faces of this sport,
We've done a little bit backstage, done a couple of athlete interviews with DSL and the last one, Darren Shepherd-Loxton, and with Aaron Bevan. We'd like to do a little bit more of that. We are inclusive. It's just been that we've managed to get to the BNBF ones first. Mm-hmm. We do want to get to the UK DFBA and the MPA. I know a lot of competitors that personally that are going to be doing both on all three federations. So it'd be nice to get along to all of them. Obviously, work permitting. Hopefully, we'll be able to do that.
Always gets in the way, mate.
It does. And as I say, crime won't crack itself, guys. Which is what delayed me a little bit this morning. But hopefully we'll manage to get to quite a few of them shows. I'm quite excited for it this year, and I think it would be good if we could get that super show of pros. I like the idea of that. So, guys, if you've got any feedback on today's show or any of the shows, or any sort of topics that we haven't discussed today or previously, please just drop us a DM on Instagram or in the comment section of this video. We take on all feedback, and because we want to give you guys what you want. So
can we have a couple of Instagram handles? So the Instagram handle for the show.
Yeah, that's Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide, all one word.
Your Instagram?
Mine is _prodigy, spelt PRODEDGEY. That's I can spell. That is,
I always struggle tagging you in post, man.
Someone
struggle.
Do you know what? Somebody said to Rob Waterhouse, "Does your mate know how to spell?" And he was like, "Come on, dickhead! It's a play on words. My last name's Edge. For those of you who don't know,
Prodigy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and Tom.
And mine is Tpoyner1. So that's TPOYNER1.
There you go.
So just to mention, we're dead grateful again for all our sponsors that we've had over the previous 4 episodes. If anyone is interested in having their company or brand featured on the podcast and helping out with promoting natural bodybuilding, then do get in touch.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, yeah, thanks very much for watching.
Okay, guys, we're signing off now.
We are. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like, share, and repost this podcast. And we will see you again soon for another edition of Natural Bodybuilding Worldwide.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye.